Good day. Today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2011, and this is my video on one of the shortest master level games that I have ever seen. Well, you have shorter games, but those might be just based on blunders or simple oversights. But certainly this is one of the shortest, what I consider to be a real game, a game that wasn't a result of just a simple mistake or a blunder. And it's an amazing game of chess. Eventually, after looking at it several times, almost like an itch I couldn't scratch, I became so intrigued with this game that I simply had to try and take a shot at it and try to figure out where black went wrong. I just wasn't able to walk away from this one. And it also makes a nice addition to my collection of miniatures and chess. And I also have a very extensive web page on this game, and you'll get to see that. I will provide you with the link for that when I post this video on my website and also on YouTube. Anyway, the first move is d4, knight f6, bishop g5. This is known as the Trompowsky's opening. First time I saw it, I thought this was a joke opening. First time, to be honest, I think the first time that I faced this opening, I actually lost. This is an unorthodox bishop move. It can be very difficult to meet. One of black's main ideas, of course, is try to degrade black's kingside pawns. In other words, white wants to capture on f6 and double black's king-bishop pawns. More common in this position would be openings like c4, e6, with many openings possible: Benoni, Queen's Gambit, Queen's Indian. Almost a limitless number of openings could possible from this particular position. But going back to the game here, the first move was d4. Black played knight f6, to bishop g5, and now black plays c5. This is not the main line here. The main line, I'll look at the main line here in just a second, but this is a very good move for black. This move here is challenging, of course, white's center, and also gives the queen an immediate out. And as you can see, that in several variations, that can be quite a problem for white. The main line, really quickly, we're just going to look at that, as knight e4, bishop f4. That's the main line there, according to the power book. White can also play bishop h4, c5, f3, g5, 5, f takes e4, g takes h4, e3, bishop h6, exclam. And in that position, basically, most chess engines already consider black to be a little bit better. It's not at all easy to play the white position, even though black has this sad little pawn out here on h4. It's not so easy to win. A lot of times black can play moves like d3 and h3 and double white's kingside pawns, and then the value of white having an extra pawn when he has double isolated pawns, in my opinion, is just very, very minimal. But anyway, going back to the main line there, is knight e4, bishop f4, d5, e3, c5, exclam, knight f3, queen b6, queen c1, knight c6. And according to the all the chess engines here and several theoretical manuals, black is probably already just a little bit better here. And if you want a chess game that is, quite clearly shows just how black should play here, it's a very good game. It was played in ICCF email in 2009. It was between Roberto Juan Joaquin and Peter Schuster, and both are very highly rated postal players or correspondence players. And black won that game in 42 total moves. And for more analysis on the Trompowsky, please see MCO 15, page number 508, column 1, and of course all notes that pertain to that column. We're going to go back to our game here. Anyway, black played 2 c5, white took, white took. White goes 4 d5. Now you can see basically white's grabbing some space. He's just getting some extra space. And the pawn on d5 is an important part of the white puzzle. White's edge and space and his better pawn structure are going to help offset black's advantage of more open lines, greater piece activity, and the 2 bishops. Black plays queen b6 now. You can see right away that that's striking the b2 pawn and already threatening to win a pawn and then even win a rook in the corner. So it's not a threat that white can take lightly or readily ignore. Other logical moves other than after d5, other logical moves that black had here, other than queen b6, he could have also played pawn to d6, he could have played f5, or bishop to g7 here. All those moves were logical, or even bishop h6. All those moves were logical and playable, but I do believe that queen b6 is the most energetic. And white almost always plays his next move, which is queen c1. And now if you have to compare the positions of the 2 queens, I much prefer black's queen on the more active b6 square, and white's queen on c1 looks very passive. Now black plays f5. I like that move very much. I give that move an exclam. In my mind, has to be black's best move. It controls the center. It prepares an attack on b2 with the simple developing move of bishop on f8 to g7. And also the black foot soldier on f5 here helps fulfills other functions as well. In other words, white center pawns have been held up. The dark squared bishop diagonal has been cleared. Rather, the dark square diagonal here has been cleared for black's bishop. And black has also prepared ideas like d6, knight d7, knight f6, knight e4 with an outpost. And so basically I think black's got a really good game here. White plays c4. Again, that's one of the main lines here. Also another main line here, the main line, at least according to the book. I have several books on this particular opening. The most recent book, and probably the best book, would be the one called The Trompowsky by Nigel Davies, second edition. It's a red book. And anyway, the main line there is 6 pawn to king knight 3 or 6 g3. And a good game in that line would be Buckley Lalick, British League 2004. Black won a long game in 74 moves, but white was not without, computer analysis will show that white was not without possibilities in that game. Anyway, white plays c4 here, and now black plays bishop h6. I didn't like that move at all here. If I were to play black in this position, I'm almost certain that I would simply play the bishop to g7 there. The point being is that after bishop g7, knight c3, d6, all the computer engines here pick black for choice. And the bishop h6 move there, it just it attacks the white queen, but there's something about it that just doesn't feel right. I mean, that's not the place for the bishop. After bishop g7, it seems like black can just develop all his pieces very easily, and as I already talked about, he can put his bishop on g7. He could play d6, castle kingside, put his king in a corner. He could use a g file for assault. He could play ideas like, after d6, he could play ideas like knight d7, knight f6, knight e4, etc. And I think black's position just pretty much plays itself, and I certainly would much rather be black there than I would be white. Anyway, continuing on with the game, white just simply plays a simple blocking moves, e3. Black plays f4. And, I kind of wonder if this wasn't a good example of engine head chess. In other words, it's a move that the chess engines like a lot, but the more you go into it, the problem, it's just immense complications. And f4 is the first choice of many chess engines. But in this case, it's a time when the computers, I think, value material much too highly, and they do not take into account the many problems that this move might cause. Additionally, the complications are so immense that the chess engines literally fail to initially grasp them, and some of the lines you have to go 5 or 10 moves deep before the machines actually begin to comprehend and see all the problems that white's getting into, or black rather is getting into in this line. Obviously, black had another line here. It was just simply d6, knight c3, knight d7, knight f3, knight e5, bishop e2, bishop d7. White plays 11 castles, black castles queenside. And that would have been an improvement over the game, because I think black has a fairly playable game there. And all the chess engines evaluate that position as fairly close to equal. So that was a good, strong possibility. Of course, like I said, backing up here, rather than playing that move bishop h6 right there, I would have happily put the bishop on g7. But continuing on with the game, we've got e3, okay, and black plays f4, white plays e takes f4, bishop takes f4, queen takes f4. Now here the red light on Fritz comes on, and Fritz 12 basically is showing you that that move is no good, and the evaluation now appears minus/plus or minus plus, and that means simply that black is winning. And however, I think this is one of those positions that could be extremely dangerous for black. And of course, if some supercomputer of the far distant future determines that the sack was 100% sound, then the correct evaluation of white's queen takes f4 would be a triple exclam. But right now, I think really that queen takes f4 is just a mistake and probably gives black a one game. Black grabs the pawn on b2. He has to do that. And now white plays knight e2. Now I give that move a single exclam, might even be a double exclam. Fritz wants to play, knight f3 in that position, 10 knight f3, but here Fritz is just plain wrong. The Grandmaster Wells move is much stronger here. Shirov, he goes ahead and grabs a rook, and there really wasn't any rush on that. part of the problem that Shirov has is he just failed to completely, in my opinion, fully grasp and comprehend the value of white's threats. If he had, he would have played a line like d6, knight ec3, queen takes a1, queen d2, bishop f5, bishop e2, rook g8, white castles, bishop h3, rook e1, bishop takes g2. And this line eventually works out to white's advantage, but it's still much better than the game. I mean, it's got to be a lot better than the game. And actually, going back to queen takes a1, black really didn't have to play that move there. He could have actually delayed that and played the immediate d6, I do believe. But anyway, black's just going to grab the material, and now white plays knight ec3, and now black definitely has to play d6. It's like the only move on the chessboard for black. And after many days of thought and a number of just countless hours almost with the computer analysis, I've decided I would much rather be white here than black. Black plays queen b2 now. He tries to immediately resuscitate the queen, and that was a mistake. Very simply, he had to play d6, bishop e2, queen b2. That's forced now, or block, or box. Bishop h5, knight d7. And even though white can win the white f-pawn on f7, it's very clear that black's going to be better if not winning. Houdini, I allowed Houdini one day to run in this position for several hours, Houdini 1.5, which is considered to be one of the strongest engines available, bar none, right now on the internet. And Houdini considered, after many hours, I let it run, and I also did some sliding back and forth through this line. But the bottom line is that Houdini says that white simply, black is simply much better and comes out on top. Going back to the actual game now, white played, he played 11 knights ec3. Black played queen b2, which, was kind of a mistake because he's rushing it. And now white plays d6. And after this move, now it's just amazing how quickly black's game goes south. In fact, I don't know if black can save his game yet. He certainly stands on the edge of the knife. I'm not 100% sure he's dead lost yet, but his next move doesn't help his position at all. He plays queen c2. That move was just a horrible move. Who knows what induced poor Shirov to play this extremely bad move, but you cannot be overly harsh on him at the same time because black's position was already very difficult. Now, if you would just study this position just for a minute or two, you could even pause the video if you like. Much better than queen c2. I give the alternatives to that move on my webpage, but it was either e6 or rook g8. But now white to move, it's almost white to move and win. And by now, if you haven't found the move, I'll go ahead and show it to you. It's queen e3. It's just tremendous move, centralizing the queen, cutting off all the squares here for black. And black has no good squares for his queen. His queen remains trapped. There's the clear threat to mate the queen, and also to play queen takes pawn on e7, checkmate. And in this position, Shirov thought for some time and then decided to resign. If you need to see the win, the proof of the win, I have analyzed this line with both Houdini and Fritz 12. And if you need to see the proof of the win, is knight c6. That move was forced to prevent the mate on e7, bishop d3, queen b2, white castles, b6. There's nothing better. D takes e7, bishop b7, bishop e4, rook g8, bishop d5, rook g6, queen f4, threatening a mate on f7. Black has to do that. If he doesn't do that, he's lost. Bishop takes, pawn takes. You have to play d takes e6. F takes e6 is answered by queen e8 mate. Now just queen c7 for white, and white's going to regain his material. I mean, he's got threats of knight d5 and knight d6 mating black if black plays rook b8. And the computer here shows that basically black has to toss material and give back the material. Thank you for watching my video. I'll post both the link to the chess games page for this game, and also I'll have a link to my web page for this game. And again, thank you for watching my video. If you'd like a copy of this analysis, please contact me. All my contact information is on my website. And that concludes my coverage of the game Wells versus Shirov, Gibraltar Masters 2006. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.